Hi, my name's Steve and I'm a driving instructor. With the lockdowns being on and off for a year now, some of my students might not have had the opportunity to practice these big multi-lane or spiral roundabouts, whatever you want to call them. This is just a quick video recap for them, and hopefully for any new students, opportunity to kind of get ahead of the game and understand how they work before we have to sort of fire out onto the big dual carriageways and go play with them. So that's it. We're going to give it a go. The skills that we're going to be using, progressive braking. We're always going to brake slightly more than we need to get that braking done with a couple of car lengths left. That gives us a little bit more time if something changes, if suddenly we can't go. That just helps out, and there will be a whole video on that coming up because it's such an important skill. We're also going to be reading the road signs and the traffic. The rules that we're kind of going to go over here are for if we're not getting much information from the road. If it tells you use the right lane to go towards Bristol or whatever, do that. Great. If we spot that in advance, we know what we're doing. If we're not so sure, then we're going to fall back on these sort of guidelines. Third skill then, look where you're going. Yes, if we're coming up to a roundabout, we need to be looking right because we need to be looking to give way to the right. We also need to be looking at where we're going so we don't lose our lane. Can't do it safely without looking both of those places. The final skill then is going to be to stay staggered with other traffic as best we can, so that if someone else loses their lane, we're not going to get hit. If they're slightly in front and we're slightly behind, or the other way around, either way we're safe if someone comes across behind or in front of us. So yeah, let's jump into it. So hopefully a normal roundabout, sometimes your one lane splits into two, and hopefully most of you can tell me that if you're going left or straight ahead, you stick to this left lane, and if you're going right, you would use the right lane. That's it. Dual carriageway works exactly the same way, so we're just going to extend that up here. So left lane, left on ahead, right lane for right or overtaking. When to move into the right lane? It's a good question if we're turning right. So if there's loads of traffic, we'll try and get across nice and early. That'll help us to join the back of that traffic. If there's less traffic, we might wait a little bit later, let anyone who is overtaking use that lane, and then we come across to the right in good time to turn right. So this is our approach. We're on a dual carriageway heading up towards the roundabout. We're going to start with these lefts and straight aheads. So if as we get closer, just like on the smaller roundabouts, sometimes it gets wider as we get there and we get some more lanes. So if you were going to turn left, well, you're going to use the left lane, aren't you? If you're going ahead, you're going to use this right section of the left lane. So it's important to note at this point that we're not leaving the left lane, we're not crossing any lines, so we're not signalling across. All we're doing is having a quick check of our mirrors and sticking to the right hand section of this lane. If we were going left, the opposite, we'd use the left hand section. So if it helps with that, if you're going left, you can stick to the curb. If you're going ahead, you can stick to this white line, and that just naturally brings you into lane nice and gently. Haven't checked your mirrors, of course, to make sure it's safe to move around. That's it. So no signal required if we notice it nice and early, and that's where this reading the road and the signs and the traffic is going to help. Sometimes the traffic splits and you can see it, sometimes the lane splits nice and early and you can see that. Whatever you get, use that information and go with it. Then when we get to the roundabout, if this left lane turns left, it's gone. So if we're in the ahead lane, that's going to become the new left lane. As soon as that first lane leaves, well, we are now the first lane, so we become the left lane. So again, using that skill of looking where you're going, so we're looking to the right for traffic, but we're not going onto that roundabout until we're sure we know exactly where we're going, which is generally going to become the left lane at some point. So we just got to look out for when. Sometimes it's straight away, sometimes it might be a little bit further around the roundabout, depending where the exits are. That's how they spiral out. So as each lane leaves, you become the left, a little bit like the old nursery rhyme, as the little one says roll over, we all start moving out. That's it. So you'd go past the first exit, become the left lane, and probably leaving at the second exit or following the road ahead, following the signs and making sure you're not cutting anyone up as you do. That's it. That's it for straight ahead. For right then, it'll be a little bit more complicated, but not too bad. So same deal, sometimes as we get closer to the roundabout, the lane splits into two. Well, if we know this lane turns right or can be used as an overtaking lane, well, if I've got the option and I'm turning right, well, I'm always going to aim for this right lane if I'm not sure. This one we're not quite so sure about, So it could be, if they want the dual carriageway to go ahead and this to be an overtaking lane, that both of those lanes carry on ahead. Could be they turn right, could be that it does both. If you've not got any signs, ignore that lane, leave it alone. Yes, on bigger roundabouts, when you get lots and lots of exits and lots of lanes, you should be getting more information. But if you're not getting the information and you're turning right, go with the right lane. That's it. So we're aiming for this right lane to turn right. As we come onto the roundabout, then we're going to follow that lane round. Now, any time that we move out, like we talked about earlier, that lanes do sort of wash out towards the left. We're going to check our mirrors towards the left to make sure it's safe to do that. If it isn't safe to do that, we're going to stay to the right. Even if that means missing our exit and going around the roundabout again, we're going to keep doing that until we get a safe opportunity to move out towards the left. Just because your lines are moving out and your lane's moving out doesn't mean everyone else is awake and aware and paying attention and following that system. So yes, in an ideal world, we'll start moving out to the left as quick as we can, safely as we can. But if we can't, yeah, we'll stay to the right, we'll go somewhere else, we'll come back round. You're on a roundabout, there's probably plenty of other roundabouts to come back round on, especially if you're in Swindon, which is where we're going to be filming the more practical side of this. There's a roundabout everywhere, so don't worry about it. Go safely around, come back, go a different direction, whatever you want to do, as long as you stay safe. So the audio didn't turn out very well from the footage, so I'm just going to dub over roughly what we were saying. That means the footage, my mouth moving isn't going to line up, but I want to keep the in-car footage in anyway, because you can see my eyes and my head moving to spot what everyone else is up to and what else is going on, and that's all set up by the braking. Getting that braking done a couple of car lengths early gives me that time. So anyway, we're approaching the roundabout, then we can see all the signs coming up. We're following the road ahead, so we're sticking to that left lane. If we're seeing any signs of that lane getting wider, like this car in front's pushed out to the right of that lane, we're going to follow that out towards the right for that following the road ahead. So we can then confirm that with the arrows here. Left lane for left, right of the left lane is going ahead then. Hopefully as that silver car moves off, we'll see that arrow. Yeah, fantastic. We can see that then. Everyone's pointed back towards that left lane. Once that left lane leaves, turning left, we're becoming the new left lane. So we're already pointed at that curb when we get the opportunity to go. Brilliant. We're in the left lane now then. So that means keeping our speed relatively low as we go past these other cars then. That gives us the time to see what they're up to. If they're going to pull out in front of us, we're going to have a problem. We'll deal with that, and if we can't move out to the right because there's other traffic, we'll have to just slow down or stop. Let them do whatever stupid thing they're going to do and then move on. That's fine. So here we are then, we're just moving out to the right to let these cars in. Once we're absolutely convinced that we can get back to the left, yeah, we'll go for that. So following the road ahead again, second exit, so that's left lane. If the left lane splits, we go to the right. If not, we'll stick with the left lane. Should be able to confirm it with these arrows coming up on the floor. Yeah, left lane goes left and ahead. Our lane hasn't split, so we'll stick to that. Starting in the left lane, staying in the left lane. Best we can around the cones. If we need to move right around the cones, we'll check the mirrors, make sure it's safe to do that. Didn't need to, there was plenty of space, but we're ready for it. Now then, we can deal with the signs as well. So we've got this 50 coming up. If you call it out loud, you're much more likely to remember it. And if it's safe to do 50, then we'll do 50. We're here in the left lane. We'd only use the right lane to turn right or overtake, which we're not doing, just showing you the following the road ahead for now. So you can see the signs coming up in the distance then, you can see the roundabout coming up. Again, following the road ahead, second exit. That means left lane. We'll slow down, give ourselves time to see if that left lane gets wider. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. On this one, it doesn't then, and the speed limit's 30. So if the lane didn't split, we're staying in the left. That means sticking to the left as we go around the roundabout, being aware of anyone else, what they're up to. The last speed limit we know was 30. We saw the sign on approach. We've also got street lights and buildings here. That's a general rule for that, is 30 miles an hour when you've got street lights and buildings. So following the road ahead then again on the next one, you might just see on this one the brake lights of the car in front coming on as they get to the bend. So if we can get a bit of speed out before that bend, that gives us more time to see if this lane does split. Now you might just be able to see the car in front of us again is pushing out a little bit further to the right. We can also see that jagged line carries on straight, whereas when these move off, you might just see the curb bending away to the left. Well, that's the lane getting wider. Any signs of that lane getting wider, just like the car in front, we're moving out towards the right into the middle lane here. having checked our mirrors to make sure it's safe to do that. Okay, so we're in the middle, we'll stay in the middle here, but when that left lane turns off to the left, what lane are we becoming? There we go, the left lane. Again, keeping an eye on anything that might pull out in front of us on that next exit. So good job we called out that speed limit sign, 30 miles an hour, because we've not seen another one in the last couple of roads. So last one we saw was 30, still 30, still street lights and those buildings on the right, 30 miles an hour. Now then, as we're approaching the next sign, street lights and buildings, street lights and buildings, street lights and buildings. Once we're past the buildings, street lights, no buildings, we can see there from the sign 40 miles an hour. So that's the general rule for that. But do be watching your signs, making sure that you're paying attention and remembering, calling out those signs. Whatever you need to do to make sure you do remember those signs when you get onto the next road. Anyway, here then we're going to be moving out to the right lane, ready to turn right. We're going to go all the way around this roundabout so we can come back and have another look at those big roundabouts where the lanes split. Some of them do, some of them don't. Notice how again the braking's getting done that little bit early. That's helping us to keep moving. So staying staggered with the car on the left there. If they straight line that and come across the lane, that's then not a problem for us. Now we want to work our way back to the left lane, but there was traffic in it, so we can use this right lane to overtake and keep the traffic down. Why queue in one lane when we've got two? Again, we've just about managed to keep moving there. So where I was talking about the roundabout and the lanes, I didn't call out that speed limit. That was 40 miles an hour. But this is why it's so important to be controlling your speed into and out of the roundabouts, to have time to see that sign, process it, log it in your brain, whether that means talking about it or whatever, and then you can use it after the roundabout, because your focus will be taken on the roundabouts. So make sure you remember it for afterwards. Anyway, here we go then, coming back into streetlights and buildings, coming back into 30 miles an hour. We're following the road ahead, second exit again. Again, get that braking done just a touch early if we can. Yeah, that'll help us keep moving. There it is, managed to keep moving, still staying staggered with the vehicles. Anyway, dealing with the lanes then, following the road ahead, second exit. Last time the lanes split, but coming back the other way, might not. Let's have a look. So as we're coming in, if our lane hasn't split, can't see it getting wider, we're following the road ahead, second exit, we'll stick to that left lane now. Notice how this is almost a 90-degree corner coming around here to stay in that left lane. It's so important to stay in that left lane. A lot of people struggle with that because it's such a sharp corner. If you're dealing with your speed effectively, you'll have time to look right and see how far that left lane dives off to the left and be able to stick with it. No point going wide and going into someone else's lane. That's only going to cause you problems. And again, that's why it's important to stay staggered, because it's not just learners that struggle with that. Full license holders, people who should know better, come wide on those lanes. So yeah, keep staggered, keep yourself safe. Anyway, following the road ahead again. If the lane gets wider, we're out to the right. If it doesn't, we're staying in the left. Again, staying staggered, getting the braking down, especially if I can't see around this van very well because he's in the way. I give it a little bit more time to see. Yeah, brilliant. Sticking to the left then, and off we go. Okay, so moving on to the rights then. You can see there's not much traffic in front, so we've waited a little bit later to move over to the right. We're still there in plenty of time to turn right. Coming up then, we've got the lane splitting, so if we're not sure we're going to go to the right, we can also confirm with the signs that that right lane is the only one that turns right towards West Swindon. Lane 3 also used to turn right, don't be fooled by that. It doesn't anymore, you can see that from all the signs. It then reopens into 2 lanes once we get onto the roundabout. But if there was anything on our left, we'd just stay in lane 4. On this occasion, there was nothing alongside us to the left, so we follow that dotted line out. But we've still got that escape route of staying in lane 4 if we needed it. Anyway, following the lane that we're in then, coming back out towards the left, still checking it's safe to move out towards the left, still checking that these cars are actually stopping. Okay, so here we are, we're in the right lane. Again, this splits into 2 once we get onto the roundabout. If it's not safe to work our way back to the left, we can just stay in the right. Again, on this occasion, there is nothing to the left of me, so it's going to be okay to follow that dotted line. you go. Now, got the lines, just stick it within your lane, so you've got line on your right, line on your left, following that round here. Again, keeping the speed cautious until we can see those cars are actually stopping, and then carrying on. So if we had been forced to stay to the right on that roundabout, we'd just finish one lane further to the right. All we do is stay staggered like before, start checking those mirrors, keep signalling, keep trying to come back across when it's safe, get yourself back to the left lane, and job done. Doesn't matter either way, as long as you keep trying to get yourself back to the left lane, so you're not sitting in the right lane and holding up traffic. We know we use that lane for overtaking. Yeah, let's then come back afterwards. Okay, one more then. So we're going to do this one as if we couldn't get back to the left, as if something's cutting across from lane 3 to lane 3, which you can see the problem here. So because lane 4 is the only one that turns right, that's building up more traffic. Then people are going to start thinking about using lane 3 and cutting across. We do have that happen here. So once we get a little bit closer, you'll see a white van going from that lane 3, cutting across the dotted line into lane 3. So we're going to do it as if that white van was alongside us, or if anything's alongside us and we're not sure what they're going to do. We're going to ignore that lane 3. We're going to stay to lane 4 here. There's the white van cutting across. That would have hit us if we were at the same point. So again, staying staggered, staying within this right lane. Then if we're not sure what everyone else is up to, we'll follow that round. As we mentioned, that just makes us finish one lane further to the right. We're already checking our mirrors, we're already signalling back to the left coming off, and again, staying staggered means we can then start working our way back into the left, just like that. Anyway, last one for today then. We're turning right, Bruce Street Bridges, from Cheney Manor, turning right, third exit. Again, the lane splits into 2. If we're not sure, we're going to go for the right lane. The arrows are only showing ahead, so it's not giving us enough information, so we've got to stick to that right lane. Following that around then, might just see some notches pushing our lane out towards the middle. We'll check that it's safe to go towards the middle. Yeah, fine. Just like before, we're already checking our mirrors and signalling back to the left. There's nothing alongside us on the left, so we're going to work our way back into that left lane. Nice and gently. There we go. If there was something alongside us, we could wait later, we could see what they're up to, but we're just going to keep checking those mirrors, keep signalling, keep staying staggered and looking for that gap, and bringing ourselves back across when it's safe. Absolutely fine. You do whatever's safest and most appropriate at the time. Nicely done. Thank you for joining me on that little video lesson. Van went past as soon as I said that. But yeah, thank you for joining me on the video lesson. 2 little notes before we finish. One, that's not the only way of getting around those roundabouts. You could be in different lanes to do different things as well. So you could probably see on some of those we had 2 lanes going off to the left, and we had 4 more lanes carrying on round. So it's at least 6 lanes with only 3 exits. So I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but if you're not sure and there isn't enough signage to tell you which lane to be in, you've got a pretty good gauge as to where you should be. And that's the first note. The second note ties in with that, in that this won't work everywhere, because you still need to watch your signs. Watch the road, watch what other traffic's up to. Even if you know exactly where your lane's going, keep an eye on what everyone else is up to. They might not be as confident as you are. So that's it. That's how you do it. Thank you very much. Any questions, then yeah, let me know. Cheers. Bye now.